This podcast is rated E for explicit.
I was loading groceries in my truck, and she already put her groceries in the car, and she just drove over, and she said, "Hey, how are you?" I said, "I'm doing well." She was like, "Just let you know, you're a very handsome young man." I said, "Well, thank you." She was like, "I know this may sound a little weird, but I was talking to my sister, and she indicated like I needed to just go out and just meet people and be a little more forward." And I was like, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, you should." I said, "If you feel like that was something that was holding you back in life, I'm like, go ahead and speak up." She's like, "So I'm going to ask for your phone number." And maybe we can get together and have a drink or so. And I was a little surprised by it, but I appreciate her courage. So I gave her my number.
Okay.
So I gave her my number. I said, "Hey, here's my number." And so she called me and we spoke, but I kept it very brief.
Mm-hmm. You weren't interested.
I knew I wasn't interested from the jump.
Okay, why?
Because I'm a fuckboy.
You met me in the midst of many things. Shedding skin, sprout wings, looking at life as a spiritual being through a human lens, having conversations with God about so many things. This show is your invitation. The poet God is the conversation.
Recently, I played priest to a fuckboy who had many things to confess. And as with all of my guests who trust me with their stories, I count myself blessed. Once he was booked, I started to take a look into the various definitions of what a fuckboy even is. And I learned a couple things. And, oh my God, there's a quiz. This show is about to be lit. Because, as I've learned, there's levels to this shit.
So an F-boy literally never makes you feel secure. He never makes you feel like you are the only one. He is yours and he's everybody else's. And he makes sure to let you know that he's a very attractive guy or he's got a lot of money.
This is a phrase that gets thrown a lot quite often by women, and it has a negative connotation, but I personally never saw it as a bad thing. What that means is you're a guy that likes to fuck, right? Which is basically every man.
These kind of type of guys seem super confident, but it's only a outward confidence. It's like a hollow box. So the outside is beautiful, like a present wrapped up beautifully, but inside the box is empty.
You can't be a fuckboy and be really bad with women. That doesn't exist, right? So it's basically like the male version of a slut. But again, I never saw that as a bad thing.
And you kind of feel like, oh my God, he actually likes me. Like, this amazing guy actually really, really likes me. You start to feel flattered without actually doing your due diligence and checking this guy's bullshit character, which I always talk about. I'm always about character. It's not about the outside. It's about what's inside, okay? And that's where a lot of us go wrong.
So to me, it's always been interesting when girls will say to me, "You're a fuckboy. You're like a fuckboy. Are you saying that I can get a lot of pussy?" Yes, please.
So Adrian took me on a journey into the mentality of a fuckboy, and what you may take away may be as varied as these definitions of what a fuckboy is today.
The journey of where this starts is I would have to take it back to when I was younger. We'll go like high school.
Mm-hmm.
I got I got teased a lot in high school. I was like a nerd, you know. I would get teased, but at the same time, I was just real chill. And when it came to like female nature or female attention, you know, I kind of I won't say scurried away from it, but I was into my video games.
Okay.
You know, and so you start living life and you start getting into college and things like that. And then you start saying, hey, you're cute. I mean, you're not thinking like, oh, I can really take this somewhere, but you get that. And then it's like, okay, well, let me go with that. So you become the cute guy, you become the nice guy.
Okay.
You know, and then from there, you start getting in relationships and things like that. And then they don't work out. Or then you start realizing more about yourself as far as like what you like and what you dislike. And for me, having to be one of those that was kind of a late bloomer, I went to a stage where I tried to catch up from things that I missed out on.
So when you say like a late bloomer, what did that look like for you?
Late bloomer is like, I'll give you an example. Like I didn't even have my first kiss until I was like 17 years old.
Okay.
You know, everything was just late for me. Like I didn't really hang out as far as like partying or anything like that. Like, you know, the only time I hung out after school one time was really like for like a dance or like senior dance or something. Homecoming. That's what
Homecoming. Yeah.
I was really all I did. I was very, very introverted.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so it took a while for me to kind of come out my shell.
I see.
Basically. So upon coming out, you know, my shell or whatever, as a young man, you start to understand as far as like what makes the world go around or like what makes you successful or what people look at you as. You know, you look and see as far as like, okay, what are women are attracted to? Women are attracted to power, their dominance. And you're like, well, I'm not like that. You know, you just have this conception.
So you didn't see yourself like that in the early stages?
No, not at all. I just looked at myself as a nice guy. You know, I had a very, very close relationship with my family, with my mom, you know, just like a good dude.
Yeah.
As you get older, you kind of challenge yourself as far as like, okay, is this really who I am? You know, and
did you start having that shift in around college time or before?
It was actually past college. It was past college, yeah. So I would say, because even through college, actually my first realm of getting attention was actually at a job that I had. I'll admit I worked at a call center.
Okay.
Call centers have reputations of like the ratio being of like 6 women to like 1 guy.
Oh,
whatever,
okay.
You know, so, and I came in there and I was like fresh meat, to be honest with you. And so I'm getting all this attention like at a call center. I'm just like, where is this coming from? You know, just understanding like, I looked at myself totally different than maybe what the outside world looks at me as, pretty much. So that was kind of my first taste as far as like, okay, all right. So it really didn't start changing for me until I would say like mid-20s.
Okay.
Mid-20s. So done with school, working, a monumental change in my life was deciding to relocate from my previous city. So I moved from one city to another, just did it just off the strength of just wanting to do something different.
Right.
So I was really kind of like out there on my own. So up until that point, I was still somewhat a little bit sheltered because I had like my friends, my family near me. So now.
And where did you grow up? What was that?
I grew up in Chicago.
Chicago, okay.
Yeah, I grew up in Chicago. Grew up on the South Side.
Okay.
So born and raised, still always home to me. And so growing up in that part of town, you know, it's the best, but, you know, it is what it was. You know, I have fun, great memories and things like that. So growing up in that, you know, in that era too. So we're talking 90s, basically growing up in the 90s in Chicago and into the 2000s. So, but I decided I needed a change. And so I made the trek down south to Georgia. And so I had no idea, what to expect when I moved here. So upon moving here, I just got exposed to things, the friendliness, the Southern hospitality. It may not be there. It may not be like it is now, but back then there was a little more hospitality back then.
Gotcha.
So coming down to Georgia, it was different compared to Chicago. People were just a lot more friendly, approachable, and at the time I moved here, I was single, and I'll admit, I think that was the beginning stages of it, of just understanding like how life works, as far as you want to be the family guy or you want to just have a little fun. Me not having kids at the time, like, also helps too,
right?
To where you got freedom,
right?
You got freedom. You focus on your work, and then it's like you work, you pay bills. What else is there to do? Let's go out and just have a good time, And that's kind of where it started. That's level one.
Yeah.
But as you get older, as I got a little older, the more I just started to realize I got into a couple relationships and things like that.
And these were serious relationships? Okay.
Yeah, I was in a couple of long-term relationships.
Okay, and in your 20s?
Late 20s.
Late 20s.
30s more so.
Okay.
Time flies.
Yeah.
Time flies big time, And so, but during those, I just realized like, let me see what's there on the other side of the fence.
Outside of this experience.
I'll be honest. Like, we were keeping it real here. You kind of get that wandering eye. You get that wandering eye. Just to see what you can do, because the male ego is real. As far as just like being able to see if you can pull
this or pull,
it's basically like, let me see what can come out of this, basically. Like in one particular relationship, like I purposely like gave it a break.
Okay.
Part of it was, I'll admit, it was just becoming more and more monotonous. It wasn't really moving the needle.
So you were bored.
I was bored.
Yeah.
And I was that's a good way to say I was bored. You got bored. We went on a break, and doing that break, I was like, okay, all right, I like this, So doing that, I had that experience, and then once we broke up, I just went through a phase. Just, meeting chicks and, taking them out. And then back then, online dating was considered more of a taboo, where, you had to log online and, people like, you meeting strangers off the internet. It's not like what it is now. It's not like what it is now. You just pick up your phone and,
right.
If you don't meet online now, they're like, well, how did you guys meet?
Right.
Back then, it was just more so like, it was just more taboo and all. But
yeah.
That was an added vice that was needed, other than just meeting people either at work or, the grocery store, whatever the case may be. Where it really got to the point where you started to see yourself as like fuckboy status. I went through a change physically also. I hit the gym. My appearance changed. So, I was low on the chubby side, and I started hitting the gym, start seeing the results and everything like that. And then and you get older, and men can take aging differently a lot of times, where you can actually improve I won't say your look, but things change when it comes with confidence, and,
right?
And you become more established,
right?
The facial hair gets more thicker and all that,
And would you say a little bit more refined in the way you carry yourself,
and experience also, because now as you get older, you're meeting people from different age ranges too. So you get the older women you get the women your age, and you can get in slightly younger. So now you're dealing with different age ranges. So it opens up the pool a lot more.
Broader appeal.
Broader appeal. That's a great way to explain it. Basically.
Yeah.
Broader appeal. With that being said, the more and more confidence that I got with that, the more, it was just like, it's different now, know? So with that, comes with responsibility because now you do realize it's, I won't say it's easy, but it's easier as far as the approach or the chase with women, you know, where you can just go to a bar and just chill and you're scoping, and before you know it, you look at your phone and you're talking to like 8 to 10 different women at one time.
Right.
Know? So that could become a chore, on top of trying to do your day to day as well.
Right.
So, and so, yeah, if the title of what is constituted as a fuckboy, that would be me.
To juggle 8 women at one time, is it kind of like a requirement to be a fuckboy in order to do that effectively?
To juggle
time,
that. Yeah. You have to, a lot of times you have to honestly be real with yourself, but then also you have to tell them what they want to hear. And so you have to develop patterns and, what to say, what to withhold information from, things like that in order to get it to work. Because obviously 8 to 10 women, if you're seeing 8 women, and it's only 7 days in a week, you're just not going to be able to do that.
Right.
So you have to reinvent yourself several times.
I see.
Just be real.
Reinvent yourself several times. I love it.
You have to reinvent yourself. You have to become like a shapeshifter. In order for it to work. And honestly, for a while, it's kind of fun.
We'll be right back after these messages. Men have feelings too.
I'm coming from like a really rough time in my life.
Although society doesn't often give us the room to sort them out in the healthy ways as we need to do.
Throughout my childhood, they would say I was shy because I wouldn't talk. Very observant, but I wouldn't speak up.
But that's the gift. We have the power to give each other as friends and as brothers.
Girls like me, and they be throwing the pussy at me.
Okay.
And most oftentimes I catch it.
After my former coworker's messy breakup, he had a lot to unpack emotionally.
I know that you're attracted to muscular black men, and I see that you do. I see that you do follow some, but I don't care.
And in this anatomy of a breakup, he was as candid as he could be.
I can't lie, like I'm ratchet as fuck.
Listen to The Anatomy of a Breakup, Season 3, Episode 9. And after you follow the Poet God podcast on your favorite podcasting app, a quick search of the Poet God on Twitter and Instagram will connect you to just what we have on tap. And if you're not that social, at thepoetgod.com, we got your back. Did you have a circle of friends that you shared the experiences with, you shared advice with? What was that culture, that community like?
What you may see on TV, you see that where it's just like a bunch of guys and they're talking about all the chicks that they didn't bang or slept with or whatever the case may be. I didn't roll like that.
Okay.
I maybe had like maybe 1 or 2 friends that actually knows as far as like, how I roll basically. Because you also got to realize like guys hate on other guys too. And guys want you for your downfall also, because it could be where like you may be talking to a chick that, like your boy may have wanted or whatever, and he may feel a certain way about her, and he don't want you to succeed. So, like, getting back to what I said as far as like reinventing yourself and shape shifting, it's best a lot of times to kind of run incognito. You know, you have to, in some cases, you know, sometimes you have to be this super nice guy to where it's like, oh, you know, Ryan is a stand-up guy. Another time it may be where, you know, you see him and then it's like, well, he's cool, but he can be kind of a dick, you know? So you have to figure out your approach, and then you have to kind of stick with the script.
So you're shape shifting depending on what you want out of that individual female.
It's not necessarily within the female. It depends on the situation.
And the situation.
And the situation.
Okay.
Because, I mean, a lot of people may think it's like, okay, well, he's just preying on women. Like, there's no way I would, like, deal with a person like this. It's like, that's not necessarily the case, because women are here just as bad as men. Mm-hmm. You know, and so they're in the game too. Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna ask you about that later.
Okay, they're in the game too, and so with that, it really just depends on the situation and what works best. With some women, you know, you can be upfront and they respect that, and they actually want to deal with you. Like, just say, look, I'm not looking to settle down. Like, you know, we can hang out. We can do our thing, but I'm not trying to go exclusive.
Right.
So you get all these other terms that everybody's doing, like, you know, monogamous, non-monogamous, things like that. You know, I just say, hey, this is me. And a lot of them would just respect that. And they'd be like, you know what? That's fine. That's not for me. Okay, that's fine. That's cool.
Yeah.
You have others that's like, you know what? Typically, I wouldn't deal with someone like you, but since you kept it real with me, you know, it is what it is.
Okay.
Like, I can respect that. So it's like, cool. So we have an understanding.
Right.
Where it goes south is when the feelings get involved. Mm-hmm. You know, or you're not spending enough time with me, or by chance someone catches you with someone else out in public. Like, how do you know, how are you going to handle that?
Have you had to handle that?
I've never had, knock on wood, I've never had an incident where it blew up like that, but I've had where it was looks staring like, okay, I see you. Like, okay, I see you too. And that's it.
And they're seeing you with somebody else.
Yes.
I see.
Yes.
Oh.
So, you know, we're all adults. Nobody's trying to blow up each other's spot, you know? So you gotta maneuver. You gotta maneuver. It's how it is. So that's in a nutshell of how it starts and what it curtails and what it consists.
Have you had a experience where you were upfront with a female and they agreed to, you know, like you said earlier, roll with it because they respected that you were upfront, and then later on they shifted, meaning that they wanted more than they said that they would?
That happens a lot.
Okay.
That happens a lot. So you almost have to just let them know, like, this is what it is. If you find yourself getting attached, you need to let me know. Because I look at it where a lot of guys wouldn't care because it's all about them, you know. But, you know, for me personally, it's like, look, this is what it is. If you find yourself like getting attached or things like that, you know, communicate, because there's a strong possibility, like, I may feel the same way too. You know?
So has that happened? Because I was wondering about that. Have you been in those shoes where you didn't think you would get attached and then that happened?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You sure you're a fuckboy?
I have, if anything, I have fuckboy tendencies. I mean, if I'm not 100%, I'm in the upper echelon, basically. Just put it like that. But no, I mean, we're human,
right?
And you know, you meet the right one, And you just never know, regardless of what your mentality says.
Your heart might say something different.
Yeah, somebody gave me a real good advice, like the heart wants what it wants.
Yeah.
Wants what it wants. And there's nothing you can do about that. Ain't happy yet, but just saying. I'm open to where that could possibly take place. And in some cases where I may meet someone and I'm just like, I'm really into her. I want to see what's up and turn around and those feelings aren't reciprocated. And so, where the ego comes in at is like, well, why not? Why aren't I can make you mine. Like I could really make you happy. It could be where she's just not feeling you or she's doing the same thing.
True.
You just never know. And so that's why I said you may hear the term where they say it's a dirty game. And that's what it is because, feelings don't get spared if you're out here. And it's not like I necessarily chose. It just I kind of just fell into it to where, if you're not settling down and, you get more and more into your ways, and you're just like, well, this is just what it is.
Yeah.
This is my life. I mean, for someone who feels like, they don't want to get married or just play the field, I mean, protect yourself. I mean, because it's more than a dirty game out here, and as long as you're upfront and if you're not purposely trying to hurt people, it's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with it.
So when you think of a classic fuckboy scenario that you've experienced, like the quintessential experience of what you can think of, tell me about what that looked like.
Meet someone, they show interest, you show interest in them, take her out, have a good time, spend time. You know her likes, dislikes. You watch a movie or things like that, and so it's like you're dating. But you're not going to let her go through your phone yet. No, because first of all, I got the phone on silent.
Because you don't want to, you don't want her to hear all of those notifications.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to hear the notifications go out. If you're driving with her, you make sure you turn that Bluetooth off before you get in that car. You don't want no questions whatsoever. Because you're still seeing what's out there,
right?
But obviously, like you can tell, like someone's catching feelings for you. But you're also like, well, I like you, but I don't know if I like you enough to where I can just give up what I'm doing. That's where the fuckboy tendencies start coming in at.
I see.
Because it's not necessarily stringing her along. It's just that it's just going to take you a lot longer to catch the feelings, as they say.
Okay.
And so then it becomes a matter of where she's trying to move the relationship forward and you're still kind of stuck in neutral. Or...
And what time frame are you thinking of?
It really varies because it depends on how hot and heavy the relationship started.
I see.
Because it could be where if it was just like instant, because people, the dating pool is so, how can I say, suspect nowadays.
Yeah.
To where people meet someone and they kind of want to lock it down. Like they don't want to waste time. They see potential and they're just like, you know what? When I hear the term, what are we or where do we stand? It's kind of like, yo, I just met you like 2 weeks ago. Boom.
So wait, you get that question that early?
Oh yeah. I'm telling you, not a lot, but you have some women that want to drag and take their time because I want to get to know you. But as a guy, sometimes you're just like, okay, I understand that, but I don't have all day. Like if I'm showing interest, let me know. It's like basketball. We're on a shot clock here,
So wait, do you think there's a double standard with even that? So if you want to move things along quickly because you like what you see, you don't really have that much patience if she's not moving at your speed.
Yeah, it's a total dose.
It's a total. Okay, I just want to make sure. I'm picking that up.
have to look at it that way. Like we're out here looking for our best interest.
Yeah,
not necessarily what is fair.
Okay, I got you.
So you have to look at it that way. It's like, yo, like, no, I like you. Like, I want to pursue it, but if you kind of get the resistance, it's like, well, why the hell are you resisting me?
Right. Do you know who I am? Do you what I can?
Yeah. It's borderline arrogance.
Are you a fuckboy? Maybe you just have a tendency or two. Well, stay tuned because Adrian will share his take on 8 examples of fuckboy fuckery we have for you. We'll be back. We'll be right back after these messages. Have you ever felt like traditional or religious ideas surrounding monogamy or marriage are out of date or unrealistic? Well, you're not alone in that.
We started really defining what our marriage was to us, as opposed to like, hey, you got a ring, so that means he's committed. He's got some. I've seen people with these MacGuffins of marriage, of love, right? That's what I'm gonna call it, right? Like, you got the ring, you got this, and they still dishonor it.
After watching Showtime's The Affair and Netflix's Sex Life, I was like, who can I talk to about this? And I thought my friend Dante, who's married with children, would be the perfect person to have this conversation with. Hey, Dante, do you remember that question that I asked you?
Yeah, I got that on deck. Because I've been watching a series called The Affair that's been interesting on many levels. Have you ever felt like traditional/religious ideas of monogamy are outdated or out of step with the needs of humanity?
Yeah, I know it's a heavy question.
Nah, I was like...
And apparently, he thought so too.
Finally, somebody going to ask me this question.
So guess what? That's just what we're about to do. Listen to Sexually Speaking, Season 4, Episode 5. And after you follow the Poet God podcast on your favorite podcasting app, a quick search of the Poet God on Twitter and Instagram will connect you to just what we have on tap. And if you're not that social, at thepoetgod.com, we got your back. You know, the other thing that I wonder about too is, as far as the hot and heavy scenario, when you, and tell me how this works in your head. Like if you meet somebody, how quickly does sex happen? And depending on how quickly sex happens, do you look at them differently?
That's a really great question. And I'll answer that. It depends. But I will say the majority of the time, if you have sex quickly, it does kind of change the way you look at them, because sex isn't necessarily the only thing that's on a guy's mind, to where it's like, it can be kind of easy to where it's like you're looking for more than just the physical. Right. Because the physical is going to always be there. If a woman, a lot of times, if she sleeps with a guy mentality is, well, what's next? There's no challenge there.
I see.
Because you gave up the goods. You gave up the goods. There was no hype. It's almost like an album release. Like if someone's dropping an album, they give you a date way in advance. Like, we're in the summer now. If somebody's album about to drop in the fall, they'll drop a single, they'll drop 2 songs from the album to highly anticipate the release.
The tease.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Compared to, you meet a chick, like you meet her on Friday night, and in about 4 or 5 hours, you hitting it. Okay, all right. I got the release. The album's dope. It is, but okay. what next album is dropping?
Right.
So, but on the flip side, like for women, I mean, they could be the same way too, you know, to where they're like, you know, it is what it was. And a lot of women, you know, that's what they want. You know, it's just like, well, I was feeling it and I have needs to be met. So I like to say it like there's needs to be met, which is perfectly fine. But when you look at it from a long-term perspective, like if you're looking at someone as far as potentially being with long-term, it's something that you consider is like, okay, well, how quickly did she give it up? You know, it's like, because a lot of people have like the 3-day rule and all, or the 90-day rule and things like that. It really just depends.
On the flip side, though, have you been in a situation where you feel like, okay, you're making me wait too long?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's, especially when you kind of hint around, when there's obviously like flirting there and there's attraction, but it's just also where it's, you know, you're purposely like, oh no, I'm not doing this. Like, okay, all right. Unless I'm really feeling you, I feel like I'm probably putting in too much work. Especially knowing that I can just probably hit up someone else and I don't have to go through all this. You know, so it's like a lot of times what that leads to is to put you in a friend zone. Because you've kind of deadened or numbed the primal aspect of, you know, me pursuing sex with you. Now you're just a homie. And now when you're ready to be like, okay, I'm ready to go with you, I don't see you that way no more.
Oh, okay.
You're fine, but there was a window that I could have got with you, but you was giving me the okie doke. You was giving me the runaround.
So how long would you say that window is? Like, what time frame is that window?
That window would be a couple of weeks.
A couple of weeks.
It just depends. Like, I mean, we're all different. So
right.
There isn't a set time for anything. It's just, you know, people wake up, you know, I hope we all like change underwear every day. Just the way we do our attitudes, the way we feel.
The way we feel on that, right.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
And I suspect it depends on how attractive you are to that person, and, you know.
Yeah. And attraction isn't all just looks.
Yeah.
It's definitely personality. It's about sense of humor.
Yeah.
The way they treat others. Don't get me wrong. But I don't care what anybody says. Attraction gets you in the door. You know, from a physical aspect.
Oh, definitely. I mean,
it gets you in the door to where it's like, okay, well, you come on in, wait in line, but at least you're in the room,
not wait in line.
At least you're in the room.
Okay, I believe you're a fuckboy now, because that sounds like something.
Just saying.
I love it. Wait in line.
Just saying.
There's 8 in front of you.
Yeah. You know, it's rotation. And it's when you go online, like you see that where, you know, you hear women like, I'm not trying to be anyone's rotation. So, you know, but that's how it is.
You think that's unrealistic to think that you're not in anyone's rotation?
I think, depending on like where you meet, like we'll use online, for example. If you meet someone online, I would hope that you assume that you're not the only one that person is talking to. Now, whether you want to acknowledge it, that's totally different, but you have to have it in the back of your mind, like he's talking to other women. So when that's where I kind of like, it raises a red flag for me when someone instantly is like, you know, after like one date is like, well, what are we? You know, it's like,
yeah, I would agree. That's definitely a red flag.
Yeah. But you have to realize it's competition. Also, you know, in the city that I live in, you know, the ratio is pretty one-sided, like women to men. So women have to realize, like, you know, to find they call like a good man or whatever the case may be, you know, they have to put their dibs in.
Yeah.
You know, now it could be reversed if I live somewhere else, to where I'm like, okay, well, I need to snag her down or things like that. But typically for men, if you have your shit together, You take care of your body, you smell good, you have a great job, and you have a gift of gab, and generally people can gravitate to you, or whatever you prefer. If you have it on point, the women will find you. Mm-hmm. They will find you one way or another, in all phases. Mm-hmm. Like they will tend to find you, basically.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that any of this changes with the race of women that you're dealing with?
Yes and no.
Okay.
All women have similarities, but also think when it comes to race. And it's not necessarily because you have a different skin color that you just automatically are a certain way. It just has more to do with your upbringing, mm-hmm. or just the people that are around you. Mm-hmm. So for me, I've dated the whole rainbow.
The whole rainbow.
The whole rainbow.
And so you don't find that any particular type of woman is more attracted to you than others, or it's just been a variety for you?
For me personally, yes.
Okay.
Because what a woman can appreciate is a very well-rounded man who can adapt to different situations. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, I've dated multiple white women. I've dated multiple black women. I've dated multiple Latino women, even a few, Asian women, of course. But
any preference?
I would never date anyone exclusively. But I will say the majority of women that I've dealt with have been outside of my race.
Okay.
So but before, people are just all of a sudden like, oh, he don't like black women or anything like that. That's not the case. It's just that I really I don't discriminate. Gotcha. I just don't discriminate. You accept me for who I am, and I accept you for who you are. I just happen to put myself in situations to where, I can have communication with anyone.
Do you find that white women are more accepting to somebody that is more open sexually and more open to ideas of different expressions of sexuality? Meaning, like, you talk about poly, you talk about, those different
well, before we get into that, I will say, I don't think, poly lifestyles or that type of whatever, as far as they call alternative lifestyles, isn't just for, let's say, white women or anything like that, because there's a growing population of polys for people of color.
Right.
It is. Mm-hmm. It doesn't get glorified as much. But I will say, as far as with white women, the way we are here in society, they don't have the repercussions. Mm-hmm. As far as expressing their sexuality as say, black women or Latino women. Mm-hmm. So, because they do exist.
Right.
And so, for people, minorities, they have to kind of sequester that a little bit, because they'll instantly get judged more so than white women. You hear all the time, white women I've dated, they've gone out and say, oh yeah, in college, I was pretty wild. I had 30 partners and, I had a threesome and I'm just sitting there oh my God, and it's nothing for them.
Right.
It's nothing.
Right.
To where, let's say with the black woman, that comes up in a personal conversation later on down the line, it's just me and her talking, it may just come out. She might even still admit that, as far as her wildness or thing like that. So it's just that society just doesn't harp. They have more freedom to just express that. Mm-hmm. So, with white women, so they can be the ones that are more curious as far as what the BBC is. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the viewers know what that is or whatever, but
I would hope so if they listen to this podcast.
And it's not the British Broadcasting Channel. I want to say that for sure. They'll be more blunt with it, and even though it's a stereotype, because not everyone is packing like that, but it's in the back of their mind.
I would imagine
it's in the back.
I would imagine.
Please. You know,
Yeah.
they just want to know. Like, they'll be highly disappointed, you know, and be like, oh, like, okay, it's a myth. It's a myth. For sure. Absolutely.
Well, if the stats on Pornhub that they publish every now and then is any indication, there's definitely a big fascination, no pun intended, with BBC.
Oh, yeah,
right? So,
for sure. It's, you know, and the thing is, well, I find it a lot of white guys like it. Mm-hmm. They watch it.
One of the reasons I asked about the race thing specifically is because it seems like in general, people of, well, the Caucasian persuasion are more fluid in their expressions and experiences of sexuality without actually putting a label on themselves. Like they'll float between things, and that doesn't mean that just because I'm dabbling, that doesn't mean that I identify this way. I'm just having fun.
That's true to an extent, but honestly, as we're in 2023 now, you see that all across the board.
This is true, right? More so, than ever before.
All across, more than ever. Now, back in the day, they totally you can like look, for example, like Madonna.
Right.
You know, Madonna was kissing women on stage and doing whatever, but she never came out and said, "Oh, I don't know if she ever came out and said I'm bi or gay or anything like that." She's just Madonna.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Similar to, we're probably going subject here, but like Dennis Rodman, for example.
Right.
You know, where obviously he has tendencies, but he's never came out and said, "Hey, I'm gay" or anything like that.
Right.
I just think now with the, nowadays to where everyone now, it seems like it's more open with dabbling, basically, without having a label put on them,
right,
or things like that. So
I think there's more acceptance of a broader idea of sexuality, less rigid.
Very much so. Very much so.
Box.
But I'm all hetero over here though, so no dabbling whatsoever. No dabbling. But to each his own.
Right.
To each his own.
Right.
So
I remember you talking to me about a specific situation. I think you said, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you were thinking or trying out, was it poly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying that you were struggling with it because you, at the time, had somebody in your life that you liked, and you didn't think that she would really be okay with that. And so you really couldn't be as open with her on that conversation, that line of conversation, because she wouldn't be.
Yeah, it would have been a no-go.
It would have been a no-go.
So why even?
So tell me about that.
Into it. Well, you like someone, and then you click on every level, sexually, emotionally, financially, whatever the case may be. It's like, okay, I can really see myself with this person. So, but there's a point where it's, when you think about yourself, it's like, well, what turns you on, or what would be something that's not out of the norm that you would be comfortable with. And, I've always been intrigued, never saying I would do it or not, but always been intrigued by what they call, a poly, like a triad. A triad where it's, well, in my case, it would be two women and one man, like all living under the same house.
Right.
In a triad type relationship. Because I'm always curious as to how that would work under that dynamic. Because, when you look at it outside of the sex, like, that's like 3 incomes coming in.
Right.
Inflation is real. Really, you've got to look at alternative options nowadays.
Right.
But, you would have, like a full-on relationship, but it would be a close, because I've learned so much over the years as far as different types of poly relationships and multiples. But anyway, getting back to me and this particular young lady, I kind of mentioned it, but it's just a no-go. You hear the like, "Hey, I don't share," and then also it's like, I don't like women like that. So,
okay.
It's just like, okay, well, that's...
So
we're not
because
going to pursue this. Yeah.
In this situation, would she have to be bisexual in order for that to work?
I would think in a relationship, yes. Like,
okay,
someone get left out if not all three are getting loved. It's just see you smiling over there, but it's true. Somebody gonna feel left out, and that relationship's only gonna go south.
That's funny.
So if I'm not home, you guys can have your relationship.
Send me the pictures and the video.
Not necessarily, because we get like the Alaskan king size bed. Three of us can sit, and then if you want your separate space, you can do that. You get real creative. But ideally, though, like that was more so of a thought than reality. Even though I know it could be reality if I've really searched for it. Mm-hmm. But I mean, we talked about it earlier. That's what I'm a recovering fuckboy because, I think it's time. I think it's time to where I can get out of that phase.
Okay.
And really like hunker down.
With one person?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. One person. But I also will say, until that happens, you just have fun. As long as it's safe, as long as no one's getting hurt. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that would be the end goal for me.
Okay.
But again, like I said, until that happens, we'll see. But as far as like getting back to what you mentioned, as far as like with the poly, I mean, I still would be open to it, of course. But it's not a requirement. I know some guys will say, hey, I'm poly, like I like having, I don't really understand that. Like I've had women who, have husbands and they want like a relationship outside of but I'm like, okay, well, what does your husband do? Well, he sees other people too. I'm like, well, you do too? And he's like, yeah, I do also. And I'm just like, but you guys are together. I'm like, yeah. Okay. I'm like, look, I don't knock anyone's preferences, but sometimes I scratch my head like, just be single.
Listen, I've said fuck so many times in this episode. What a fucking mess. We'll be right back. Right after these fucking messages.
What is it that these people are looking for? I mean, because it sounds to me they're just looking for a big dick.
Listen, so much has been attached to the black penis. Our values, our ideas around what it means to be more or less of a man, our fantasies, and as history shows, our fears.
When white people have a belief system that the role of a black person is to bring them pleasure, is to make them happy, is to fulfill whatever need or desire it is that they have. And that message gets passed down generation to generation.
Yes.
And it shows up in different contexts, but it's the same shit.
They castrated us. And the reason why they castrated us was because they were in fear of the big black penis.
We unpacked a lot in this episode. Press play, sit back, because it's a heavy load. Listen to Past the Black Penis, Season 3, Episode 2.
And after you follow the Poet God podcast on your favorite podcasting app, a quick search of the Poet God on Twitter and Instagram will connect you to just what we have on tap. And if you're not that social, at thepoetgod.com, we got your back.
Is it a good thing to be a fuckboy? Well, I think in some ways it really much is, right? But again, it depends on what you do with it. It's like saying, is it a good thing to be a great salesperson? Well, typically it is, unless the product is shit.
One of the things I wanted to go through with you, and you, as we go through, you can tell me where this holds truth for you. So as we conclude our interview with Adrian, I wanted to get his take on what we're calling 8 examples of fuckboy fuckery. Number 1, he's ambiguous about your relationship. Example, he refuses to make a commitment to you or define his relationship with you as anything but hanging out, kicking it, or having fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because you don't want to pigeonhole yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You don't. You want to. There's a sense of freedom that comes with, fuckboy tendencies or whatever. Like, look, you're not gonna lock me down.
Mm-hmm.
I want to kick it with you. I'm spending time with you. You like me. I like you. I'm making you feel good. I'm making you feel happy. But yeah, we just not gonna. No, you're not gonna. I'm not gonna meet your family.
Okay.
I'm not gonna do that.
Okay. Number 2, he has a gaslighting tongue. Example, in other words, he's a liar in the worst way. If he's really good at it, he'll cause you to question your feelings and intuition regarding the situation and manipulate you into seeing things his way, to the point where you may even apologize for the thing that he knows your feelings are right about.
Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. But that trait right there is more so of a full-blown narcissist.
Mm-hmm.
More than anything. So it's not just fuckboy, but sometimes you gotta turn into a narcissist in order to get what you want.
Number 3, phone bone. Example, when it comes to his phone, he's like a dog with a bone. There's probably more than a few things that will blow his cover in uncleared notifications, unhidden pictures, or undeleted messages or DMs. If it's been a few months of dating and he won't even let you check his phone for the time, you in danger, girl.
Yeah, because, women will say, hey, there should be no reason for me to go through your phone. I'm like, okay, but I'll never go through your phone.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't want you going through mine. Now, if I let you go through my phone, you can't get mad, because I will probably the only way I will let that happen is if we have that establishment. You know what it is,
right?
But if you think it's more, or if we're in this relationship or in this situation to where we're trying to get to know each other, there's no need for you to see my phone. So if you see a text message come through, okay, well, we haven't had the talk yet.
Right.
We haven't had that talk about being exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't get mad. So in order to even to have that scenario come up, this phone just stays right. Matter of fact, it's going in my pocket right now.
Number 4, dirty little secret. Example, so you've been dating for more than a few months and you've never met anyone in his life of importance to him. Even worse, he only spends time with you at specified times in specified places, and he definitely avoids any events or activities with you that involve your family and friends.
Yeah, I already touched upon that.
Yes.
We don't need to do all that. We don't need to do all that. Why you want to meet my friends? I don't even want to meet your friends, unless you got a couple good ones that maybe I got a friend that maybe we can hook up with or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't need to go through all that.
Right.
It's a process.
Right.
It's a process.
Number 5, sexty texty. Example, a fuckboy isn't interested in having meaningful, deep conversations with you. An attempt at such conversations will lead to talk about sex. And if he isn't able to lure you with his flirting, he'll withdraw and ignore you.
It depends what tier you're on with him, because it comes in tiers.
Okay.
If you're at the bottom tier, yeah, he just wants to smash.
Mm-hmm.
He just want to take you to Pound Town. So the majority of the conversation is going to be based off, hey, how's your day? I'm doing well. So, what are you wearing? Type of conversation. To where if he really is feeling you, then yeah, he's gonna the sex talk won't be as prevalent. He's probably want to know more about you. Just depending on what tier you're on. Right. The thing is, a woman never know what tier she's on initially until his actions speak otherwise. And you'd be like, okay, well, I'm not that high on the totem pole.
Right. And I think you probably, spoke directly to this next one, but I'll read it anyway.
Sure.
Sex, then next. Example. A classic sign of a fuckboy is one who charms your pants off and treats you like dirty laundry until they want to use you again. Rinse and repeat.
Again, it just depends on the tier.
Yeah.
Because some people subject themselves to put them in that tier, and they're fine with that. And so it's like their actions is what you're going to get. Mm-hmm. You get what you put out.
Literally.
You get what you put out.
Number 7. Fuck all y'all. Example. A fuckboy will fuck you and all your girlfriends who let him, with no regards for your feelings.
Oh, so yeah, they exist. They exist. Personally, I haven't been in that situation. But it happens. That's definitely that's top tier fuckboy right there.
You said top tier.
Yeah, that's top tier. Yeah, that's gold star fuckboy right there.
Wow.
So, but you know what though? The interesting part about that is that in some cases, some women, they still would deal with that guy to an extent. They will feel hurt or whatever, but if he's laying it down, trust me, like a lot of things will I won't say get forgiven, but no.
So basically,
she may circle the block.
So basically, you're saying basically how good you are at sex will cover a multitude of sins?
It depends on how vulnerable she is. Because a lot of people be like, oh, hell no, that's fine. But there are a lot of women out here that just, they digmatize. Mm-hmm. And a lot of guys, they focus on that. They like, once you hit the bottom, you just unlock Pandora's box.
I'm dead.
You just trust me.
Number 8. Busy but free. Example. He only has time for his own interests and will connect with you on his terms. He says he's busy, but he's always on social media and dating apps. And you notice that he's always checking his phone, but somehow seems to never have it when you try to text or call him.
Yeah, that's true. I've heard that a lot. A lot of exit interviews that I've had.
Oh God.
It was, I want things on my terms. That is a classic. I think every fuckboy or whatever you want to call us has that, where you want to do it on their terms, on our terms, basically, on our terms, because it's, again, the male ego, it's about us. So look, actually I don't have any plans this weekend. Like, let me hit up, hey, what you doing this weekend? I got so why? Oh, I was wondering if you wanted to hang out. No, I can't do it. You know what? Whatever. Call somebody else. I'm not dealing with her no more.
Right.
Because again, it wasn't on my terms.
Right.
Hey, look, I'm trying to show you the world this weekend. Mm-hmm. Because I got time. Mm-hmm. And if not, all right, well, who next? You go through your phone. All right, well, let me get on this app here. Start swiping left, start swiping right. That's how it is.
That's how it is.
That's how it is. That's how it is.
Now, have you ever swiped right on the female version of you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But you know what, though? I can spot them out. I'd be like, it's called reverse psychology, because there are certain lines that she'll say. I'd be like, wait a minute, no, you don't tell me that. I'll tell you that. Oops. It's like the movie Boomerang. You seen the movie Boomerang?
I think so.
Eddie Murphy?
I think it's been a minute. Yeah, I think
he met his match, and he was just, he was digging her because there was the female version of him. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah. You always, it's like, yo, like, in a way that's kind of sexy. Mm-hmm. You know, because it's like, well, you understand how the game go.
Right.
Yeah. So, but they can also figure out when they're dealing with a fuckboy also, you know, and that could be cool, but then also could be like, you know what, we need to go our separate ways because we're too much alike.
And that's what I was wondering, like, how long is that sustainable?
Yeah.
You know, because is that like a, you know, explosion? Is that just going to be always combustible and toxic?
But honestly, though, like, females I've come across like that, like, I've actually kept them around as, like, you know, becoming really good friends.
Okay.
Because they know who I am and I know how they are.
Right.
You know, and so we keep each other, you know, on each other's toes. So even though the sexual dynamic whatever may not be there or whatever, like, we're still cool with each other. And just let them know how it is.
Right.
On both sides, you know. So great to give advice, all that.
Right.
So
interesting.
Yeah, very much so.
Interesting. So does that advice look like, okay, this is how you get in her pants kind of thing?
It's more so like you can just call, you can vent, be like, hey, I got this situation with this chick. What do you think from a female perspective?
So she's a traitor.
It's all hey, because she'll turn around and do the same thing for me, like this guy here. And so it's kind of like, I mean, when you're in it, you look for all ways that get a one up on people, you know? So if you have intel from the opposite sex, why not take advantage of it?
Interesting. I didn't see that twist.
Yeah, why not take advantage of it?
Yeah.
It's like war, you know? You get allies, you get people that spy, you know? So you get the information. So I got my spies.
Oh, wow.
You know? So... So it's cool because ultimately, regardless of the acts or the way you're doing things, you know, it's not like because you got fuckboy tendencies, don't make you a bad person.
Right.
Or fuck girl mentality, whatever. Don't make you a bad person.
Right.
It's just that, you know, you're blessed in certain ways, you know? You just do it that way, so.
Women, a lot of good women, a lot of good girls, we have this thing where we feel like we can actually change someone or we can love someone better. And I think if you are ever around the F-boy, you will realize that there's something psychologically wrong with them. And as women, we are so maternal and our instinct is to become his therapist, to help him. We think that our love can heal him. Unfortunately, that is not the case. F-boys do not respond well to love. So you cannot love them better. You cannot make them better by loving them.
I'm Mikhail Johnson, and this is the Poet God. Thank you for listening.